So, hi everyone. Welcome to once again another episode of Caffeinated Terrier Talk, where we are here to talk about bookish things. Today we have a special guest. We have Tanya, the owner and operator of Total Immersion Narration. Tanya, why don't you introduce yourself to folks?
Hi, Tanya Hagel here. I also am known by Celtic Blue to You, and I am the owner operator of Total Immersion Narration, where I wanted to share how I see books when they're read to me. And when I see a book in my head, it's like a full movie, a 3D movie that plays out with the sound going right around you, with you being able to walk up and feel the fiber on the next person's shoulder or hear the rain as you walk by. And that is how I developed total immersion narration. We also do basic audiobooks, but we do enjoy doing the full surround sound immersive narration as well. And surprisingly, it's not much more than a regular audiobook. And
That
I love doing it and sharing it. So go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Thank you for the great introduction of yourself. I realized I didn't mention who I was. I'm Ben Shankman, urban fantasy author and audiobook narrator. I'm also thankful to be involved with some of the productions that Total Immersion Narration has done. Um, and Lori, hi Lori.
Hi.
All right, Lori, why don't you introduce yourself to folks as well?
Okay. Hi. I am Lori Nielsen. I've self-published one novel so far called Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm an artist and a bunch of other things. And right now I'm just running late because I only have one working hand. So I'm just trying to do too many things. And it's really hard when you only have one working hand. Yay.
Well,
Hi.
I hope your hand feels better.
Thank you.
But our topic for today, as may be evidenced by our fantastic special guest, is we're going to be talking about audiobooks. Lori actually suggested in our Discord that we have an episode of Caffeinated Terrier Talk where we discuss the the beauty and majesty and whatever other adjective you want to throw at audiobooks and audiobook narration. So we're gonna kind of go round robin and come up with some questions for Tanya, but then also for us as well because we're also audiobook listeners and I'm also a narrator. So we'll all have some opinions. Um, but sorry, my chat's doing weird things and is telling me that fan status is frozen, and I don't know what that means. But nonetheless, we're just gonna keep pushing on. Okay,
Yes. I
so
wrote down questions, so I was just
you
finding
did.
those.
I
Yes,
don't.
I
I don't want to
did.
admit that you're better prepared than I am, but I will admit that you're better prepared than I am.
I was a straight A student, man.
I was too, but I did it by the absolute seat of my pants.
Oh, I
I
could have tried harder and done better, but I was tired.
No, that's totally fair. Yes, Tessa is not a popsicle. There are no Frozen fans. I don't know. I don't know what this platform does. Nothing makes sense. You know. So yeah, Lori, why don't you kick us off with a your first question about audiobooks?
Okay. I wrote very specific questions. So I guess it's if you're trying to do your own audiobooks of your own books, what kind of programs do you want to pick up for that? What are like the best programs to use for the recording and editing and stuff?
That's a
I will
great
toss
question.
that off to you because you do that yourself. Otherwise, total immersion narration is great to go to. They will take it over, run it for you. It's wonderful, stress free.
Is that a
Yes.
company?
Yeah, so
That's me.
Tanya's
Oh, that's you.
Tanya's audiobook production company is Total Immersion Narration, and yeah, let's just briefly say that indie authors, because really we're focused on the indie author space, right? Because that's what we are. We are, and we support. independent authors.
Mm-hmm.
You have a number of options when it comes to getting audiobooks produced for your books. Option number one is that you do it yourself. That comes with a lot of time and effort, and I will, in fact, answer that question as far as software and platforms and things like that. But one of your other options is that you pay someone else to do it. And having done a bit of both, I will tell you that there's no one right answer, because it is a lot of time and effort. And a lot of times what we really want is for our art to see the light of day, and the best way to do that is to contract someone else to do it. So, for questions having to do with audiobook production, Tanya's definitely going to be fielding more of those. But as far as like, if you're going to go it yourself, if you're going to do it yourself, you're looking at for software, you need what's called a digital audio workstation, which there are a bunch of different kinds. And I'm going to get on my soapbox that I've gotten on before, and I will again to mention that Audacity, while a free audio editing and recording tool, it's not a DAW. It's not a digital audio workstation. It's a destructive editor, because filters and effects that you apply to your audio tracks are permanent and can't be turned on and off.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a bunch of different kinds. My DAW of choice is Reaper. Other people use things like Ableton, or even if you have a Mac, some people use GarageBand. There's also Adobe Audition, which is Adobe's DAW. So there's a lot of different options, and it comes down to how much money you want to spend on it.
Okay. So if I have access to the whole Adobe suite, I could just use Audition?
I think that's included in the suite, though you'd have to double check.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah.
For now. It's through my husband's work, and I don't know if I will continue to have access to it forever,
That's fair.
So it's, yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
as Tanya said, the good news is if you contract someone else to do it, you don't have to worry about that. Though I will say there's
Right.
a weird hybrid, because it's not just that you can contract someone else to do it. Some authors will record their own audio and then have another company do the editing and mastering. So like
that is true.
Tanya doesn't just do production, but also I know that she's got people on staff that do editing and mastering. So if there was an author that did their own recording and wanted to get that done, that's also a possibility. Some people do that. I know one author that literally hates the sound of her own voice, so she records it and then sends it off to someone else to deal with.
And I will also say that I provide a service where if the author doesn't know where to look for people to narrate the book, then I will introduce them to several authors or to several narrators who will audition for the book. And they can pick out of those narrators, and we will provide a contract. And Tessa has done this with me on some people, Rebecca as well. They will go ahead and narrate the book for that person, and we will also provide some of the engineering and stuff, but it's at a different rate. So no matter
Yeah.
which way you want to go, I can kind of bend around it and work with you.
That's really cool. Yeah. Fortunately, my husband knows a lot about audio. My dad's an audio engineer. So like if I do want to set up something where I can record it myself, I have this very nice microphone right here that I get a lot of compliments when okay, it's making weird noises. Sorry. It's got these springs.
It's
Okay.
also me. It's both of us.
It's got these springs, and I have to be really careful what I touch on the when I'm talking, because like if I hit my desk, it goes spring. I have this nice microphone. I have access to even more like fancy equipment, and my dad, who my entire life has, and before that as well, has been in the audio business. And like if I really wanted to, they could set up in my apartment somewhere, like a whole recording studio. It would be tight. It's a very small apartment, but they can make it happen, because they want to support my dreams. So I'm probably going to wait till I'm done writing the trilogy before I start doing the audio, just because of how my brain works. But I'm seriously thinking about it now, which is why I was like, I have questions.
Questions are good.
So many questions.
Yeah,
but like I have one of those thingies
sorry,
that goes in front of the mic. So
for folks in the audience, if you have any questions about audiobook production, audiobook narration, audiobook, contracting companies, what your options are, please put it up in the chat. I will do my best to have that not scroll by too fast.
Yeah. Yes. And I just saw down here that Tessa brought up that, even if we're bringing in new people, we try to make it a very comfortable space for people to learn and to progress. And yes. I like having newer people come in just so that they can ask the right questions and get taught the right way instead of fumbling around and trying to find their own direction. We awesome. Have several narrators and engineers in our group who like teaching people. So if there's any, so if there's any narrators or engineers who want to come in and try and be part of the group, that is more than welcome. I love having new people in. So
very cool.
All right. Let me ask a question, and this will be good for Lori, you can always answer from the perspective of like an audiobook consumer, But what, and this, so Tanya, this one's for you specifically. When an author is considering voices, like when because the way that it works in certain platforms is you're going to put it out there for auditions, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And whether it's a production company like yours, whether they're going through an exchange like ACX, or things like that, what should an author be thinking about when they're considering like the auditions that they're going to be reviewing?
Basically, when I'm talking to them about their characters, I ask them, is it going to be an alto, a soprano, a bass, a baritone? Is there an actor who has a very similar voice to what you're looking for? If you do have an actor that has that voice, give me a sample. Do you need an accent? Do you need somebody that speaks Irish? Do you need a good Russian accent? Do you have a need for somebody that sounds very throaty? For any of the monsters lately, they've needed some very throaty voices. So you also need to, think about the image of that character as well, because sometimes a voice does not portray the image that you have in mind.
Yes. I was just thinking about that because I have a little family of characters that are in the first book a little bit who, who's that guy? It's like Harvey Fierstein, I think, who has that very distinctive voice that's very gravelly, that just very like cigarette smoky sound. They all sound like that because that's just what they're like, that kind of fae sounds like in my head. One of them is a secondary character in the second book. She's in basically like, if not the whole book, at least the entire second half of the book. She is in it. She has a lot of speaking lines, and that's not a thing I can do, not for long. Like if I can make it happen, it's gonna burn my voice out, and I talk for a living. So I would have to find someone who could do that, or some voice effect that could make it happen, because you hear it and you can picture them better.
Yeah. And I love matching the voice to the character. So if somebody just comes to me and says, hey, I need somebody that sounds like, oh gosh, what was that one character now? Everybody wanted his voice. Geralt or something like that.
Oh, Geralt of Rivia.
Yeah.
The Witcher?
The Witcher. I was like, oh, cool. I've got that one. And I would go to the one guy that could always pull that off. And I love collecting voices in the group because it's amazing to be able to provide that author with that voice, that special tone that they've been looking for. And, some of the voices are just really unique, and you need them for those off characters that you never would have thought would have been important. Like in one of my books, I have a character that is a pharmacist, and he's going to be playing a bigger role in the upcoming books. But you wanted his voice to be very out there, very creatively him. And the person who does his voice is perfect for that part. But I never would have been able to find him in a million years if he wouldn't have thought that his voice was viable. So even if you don't think that your voice isn't going to make it because it's not deep enough or not sultry enough or whatever, come on in. Let me hear you. We've got a part.
Nice. So nice.
I mean, from a voice actor perspective, I don't have a traditional audiobook voice, right? Like, I say that only compared to like a lot of the baritones and maybe the higher basses that get really popular with like their growly kind of the things that go viral on TikTok. But yeah, Tanya's absolutely right. I hear a lot of authors say, "Oh, I could never," because my voice isn't X, Y, or Z. And the reality is, I think almost everyone has a voice that could be good for audiobooks. It's just a question of whether or not your voice is good for your audiobook.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like,
and
I
even.
could...
We all start talking at the same time.
Go,
it happens all the time.
There have been a couple of times where the author has said, "Oh, I want this type of voice," and when we've read through the voices, they're like, "No, it still isn't happening." And so then I throw the voice that I thought it would be, or somebody else suggests another voice that they thought it would be, and the author is like, "Oh my gosh, that's it. That's that character." So that is part of the joy of working with our group, is that there's more than just one person at a time auditioning.
Yeah, I mean, I did the same thing. So I had to find my third narrator. So my first series, The Devil You Know, breaks into 3 POVs, right? So you've got the one that I voice, you've got the one that my partner Kat voices, and then
Oh my gosh, Kat is so good.
Kat is so good.
I need to hear this.
Occasionally I will repeat the suggestion to Kat that they consider doing more voice work, but then they remind me that they are an introverted goblin and do not want to do more than my books, and I respect that. But I actually did go through, because I know Tanya has a lot of folks in the group. I actually gave her a script to pass to folks who might want to audition, and like the things as an author that I needed to consider. It was like, all right, well, it's this character, and they need to be able to do an Irish accent. And so like that becomes the things you have to consider when you're casting for it, because, again, I know Tanya mentioned it, but believable accents are like a really big deal. It can be an okay accent, and that's fine, but like you can't have just I had a couple people audition for Irish and they gave Scottish, and I knew that they weren't going to be the right fit. The good news is, and I'm not going to announce who it is yet, because I want to actually be closer to getting the production out there. But I do have a narrator now that came out of Tanya's group, which is great.
Cool.
And he's awesome.
I guess I also need someone. Yeah, I can't just do it all on my own, because I need someone who can do a male voice with a Cockney accent. Who sounds untrustworthy.
We should talk.
Yeah, I mean, Ben could do that. Ben can do a couple different, several accents from those islands, actually. It's freaky how many different accents he can do. I can do a few different American accents and like one British accent. Like I can do like what's it called? RA, the super proper one.
Oh, the BBC British.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much like West End London. But that's about it.
Yeah, Michael down here, he does British too. He goes, I know a guy, wink, wink.
Yeah. RP. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
RP.
So we have a question in the chat that comes from Talgood, who is another Caffeinated Terrier Press author. Hi, Tal. Who asks what kind of equipment you need if you're going to be doing your own recording. So let's dive into that one, and then Lori, we can go back to your list of questions. But the reality is, in some ways, it depends on whether or not you're going to be doing this for more than just like your books. But the reality is, I don't believe you need as much hardware as people think you do, because there are some people who will say that at the bare minimum you need a condenser mic, and it needs to be a Rode NT1, and you need this and you need that. But the reality is, what you need is a reasonably well-treated space, even if that's just like a cubicle that you make of packing blankets, and you need a microphone that makes your voice sound good. So, Dory Murdoch, who's a fantabulous voiceover artist, is in the comments saying room treatment is most important. And the reality is, you need whatever treatment makes it sound good. You need that more importantly than your microphone, because a bad room will make a good mic sound bad, and a good room will make a mediocre mic sound good. So that's my take. Tanya, as a consummate professional, both because you're a voice artist in your own right, what do you think for equipment that folks might need?
Well, I speak fluent sarcasm, so it covers in any area. But like when Ben was moving his booth around, we ended up finding out that it flattened his mic totally. So it is very important the area you have it in and the way you have your mic set up as well. And try out several different mics, because it doesn't, just because one person's voice is sounding really good with that one mic, that does not mean that would work for your voice. Every voice has a different mic that they work better with. But please, for the love of God, once you find that spot where that mic is working for you, don't move it. Do not touch it. Do not move it. Do not adjust it. You work with it from that point on. And with Ben's setup, he's got a summer area and a winter area. And I do not need to be told when he's moved, because I can listen to his lines and I know exactly which room he's in.
My basement is cold, okay? I can't.
I told you how to heat it.
But the reality is, I did make the summer booth, which is basically half of my bedroom closet, with like a packing blanket draped around the outside. It sounds still good enough that like I'm not planning to re-record those chapters, but it doesn't sound quite as good as the other one. But really, I think the lesson is consistency is key.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And you don't have to pay an arm and a leg for a mic if you're doing it for your own books, because we understand that this is a cost measure for you, but do the best that you can with what you've got.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of, the mics that Lori and I literally are talking into right now, these are both Fifine mics. These are the AM8, which are pretty reasonable. I prefer, for my voice work, I prefer the Fifine K688, which is their budget version of an SM7B, which is the famous dynamic Shure microphone. Like, if you think of a podcast with a black capsule mic, Uh, it's a Shure SM7B 99.9% of the time. And Fifine makes a version that's the budget take on that, except theirs costs $60. So,
Oh.
it's especially if you want a dynamic mic, you could do much worse than Fifine products. But there are plenty of other both dynamic and condenser options. So, like Tanya said, play with different microphones. I sent Tanya sound tests between the K688 and a more expensive condenser that I got, and hands down, the Fifine dynamic mic was better for my voice than the condenser was.
It was.
And I do have one of those
It-
round things with the pantyhose in it that goes
Oh, the
front of the mic.
the pop filter.
It's literally pantyhose.
Yeah, the pop
Yeah, the
filter.
pop filter. It's a professional one, but Sean said whenever one of them breaks, they just buy pantyhose and put that in instead of buying a new one.
I have a
'Cause
fancier.
that's how you fix that.
Metal one now, but yes, most of them are the like nylon stuff.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say mine's metal too.
I've got enough
Oh,
broken, ripped up tights that if this ever goes, I can just replace the screen part.
All right, just remember, fishnets don't work for that.
Fishnets don't.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't think they would. Oh,
unless
Yeah,
they're hot pink, then they work for everything.
So those work.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to tell the difference in audio quality, honestly. And that's I think my dad would be disappointed in me because like I have perfect pitch. Like I can tell when a song is being played live, like slower or faster than it is on the album. But when I was in high school, I pissed off all my audiophile friends because I couldn't tell the difference between like record and CD and cassette. And they thought I was insane and they hated it. Like I'd be like, I don't know. And it made them so mad. So like, I don't know if I'll be able to tell like which mic sounds better. I hope I can.
You, at least at a high level, you will.
Okay.
Like this gets down into the qualities that people look for in voices. So maybe this is like revisiting an earlier question.
Right.
My voice sounds too bright with a condenser mic, and
Okay,
a
yeah.
dynamic mic often darkens a voice a bit. So because my voice is naturally higher, I think I sound better with a dynamic mic, which adds like some darker honey to the voice instead of a condenser, which just literally picks up every nuance of my voice that you could hear. Yeah, Tanya, any thoughts on that as far as vocal quality?
What I would do is pick out the three that you like the best and run them by somebody like Ben or Scott or any of the people that we have that has good ear for that, and we can give you a solid suggestion as to which one would be your best mic to work with.
Cool.
Yeah, though the reality is your AM8 if it is fine. It's just a question of if you did not love that, you could try others.
Right.
Right.
I saw a question in the chat that is on my list because someone asked, do you ever get someone to compose music for your audiobooks?
Yes,
and I had a
I do.
question in my list that was, what about backing music and sound effects? Because I don't
Yeah.
think it's ever just a voice.
I do have several people that do compose music. And ironically, one of them is my son, who asked that question. So,
Okay.
but I also do a little bit of my own, and I also subscribe to a bank that has music that, once we buy the license to it, it's workable.
Oh, okay. Is it like in a movie where sometimes there's just like a undertone of like a sound and mood
Yes.
music? It's like,
Yes.
is pretty much the whole time someone's reading the book or just key parts? It's been
You
so
can do
long
it
since
key
I've
parts,
listened to
you can you can do it in key parts. You can do it all the way through. Scott is down here. Maybe Scott, are you still in the group?
Yeah, Scott's here.
Okay, Scott's here. Scott, why don't you go ahead and run through that if you could for us, just really quick.
We're just gonna get like a wall of
Type
text.
away.
So while Scott's typing, in the business, this is what we call vamping for time. Just a reminder. Okay, so there's solo narration, one narrator. There's dual narration, meaning usually a male voice for the chapters that are a male voice, and a female voice for the chapters that are a female voice. There's duet, which is usually one narrator, but the different dialogue is spoken by the appropriate voice for that character. So one narrator for all the narration, different characters for the dialogue, and that's usually two people. That's a duet. Then you have full cast audio, which is one narrator, and then for each dialogue you have one or more voice actors who are playing the different parts. So for example, for one of Total Immersion's productions, I'm this character, but also like random person A and B, but that like I'm one of 10 other people who are recording for this full cast. But then there's the ultimate, which I secretly have to admit that I don't love as an audiobook listener, but I respect it as a medium, which is the immersive audio, which is a full cast plus sound effects, music, and that stuff, which is much more like a traditional like radio play for anyone who remembers what radio is.
Yeah, and that's my favorite style. Ben hates it, but hey, he'll live with it.
I don't hate it. I have opinions, Tanya. I don't hate it.
But if you just want some music through your book, we can make it fit your book.
Okay. Yeah,
we are very adaptive.
I have listened to a bunch of books. My two favorites of all time just had one narrator who did a bunch of voices. And they were both narrated by men, but they did actually like do kind of feminine voices for the women, and it worked out just fine. And I would hope that a woman could do that for male voices. I don't know if I've heard it, because most of the audiobooks I listened to after that were just comedians talking about their lives, like Mindy Kaling and Tina Fey, and they were nonfiction.
There are some really good narrators who are male who can do both female and male voices wonderfully. Aaron Smith is one of them. He can actually pull off a female voice to the point where I had to ask him who the woman was that was narrating with him. And he said, "Oh, that was me." And I'm like, wait a minute, because he has a very deep baritone voice. So for him to be able to pull off a female voice to that level, excellent abilities.
Okay.
Yeah, I bow to his abilities. But we also have some very good female narrators, like Dory, who can do male and female as well. All right,
cool.
Who moved their little
that was
bungee cord thingies?
That was bad.
I moved and I smacked something. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Well, my husband, I'm in a YouTube series that no one has watched because we've been playing a legacy game. People have watched this one, but I'm in another YouTube series because we've been playing a legacy game, and my husband does all the reading from the instruction book. And whenever there's a female character, like he'll read it a little different at the time, and then he goes in afterwards and modulates his voice to the point that when he's watching it later and has the volume on in the living room and I'm just there knitting or whatever, I've turned around and went, I don't remember reading that. It sounds like me. And it freaks me out. And I don't know what he's doing. Like he knows everything about the programs that he's editing in. It's Premiere, one of those. And it's like, it's gotten me a couple times and I've been like, when did I read that? Oh, son of a, it's just him modulating his own voice. And it sounds like me because we've been married for over 20 years and we're the same person now.
You're like,
it's really freaky. It's really freaky. So if you're married for a long enough time, you become the same person.
I did see that Tal asked a question in there, and I'm trying to find it again. I
Oh
can't find
no.
it.
There's a
Tal,
lot
could you
of going
retype
on.
it?
So just yeah, but while Tal is hopefully asking the same question, so my books are that dual narration in that I
Hmm.
read the so and I like the correction in the chat. I read the mask chapters, um,
Mm,
and I have to modulate my voice to indicate that it's a femme character, and
right.
I do that by modulating my voice, and sometimes it's more accent than it is modulation, but nonetheless, like
Hmm.
but the same thing is cat reads the femme chapters, but deepens and makes their voice gravelly when they need to do mask voices. So that is like a for dual narration especially that's a very common thing. Like
Okay.
most famous dual narration couple of all time is Michael Kramer and Kate Redding, famous for all of the Brandon Sanderson and other books.
Oh,
And they
Hmm.
do that. They're famously a dual narration like powerhouse.
hmm, that would
And
be really cool.
one
Okay.
thing, since we're talking about duets and everything, the time is what you are paying for. So each character, so the person that does all the masculine gets paid for all the masculine roles.
Hmm.
The person that does feminine does all the feminine roles. But if you have a multicast, each person gets paid for that character.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it does not matter how many characters you have,
Hmm.
you're still paying for the same amount of time. The only thing that is different is that some of the narrators will be $100 per finished hour, and some of
Hmm.
them will be $300 per finished hour. So you have to keep that in mind when you're choosing the voices for your characters. So if you want to stay in a budget where everybody has 150 or less per finished hour, I would only provide you with the voices that are in that range.
Yeah, and a lot of what you're paying for when you're talking about production, um, usually when you're saying I want someone else to produce my audiobook, you're paying just period per finished hour. So for example,
Hmm.
my audiobooks so far range 6.5 to 7.5 hours. So I would be paying for, on average, 7 finished hours of audio, meaning ready to upload to the platforms that I'm distributing them on. Uh, and the per finished hour rate for things like duet, full cast, fully immersive are going to be more expensive because it takes more time and effort to cobble those things together. Editing
Hmm.
together an immersive audio is much more challenging than editing a solo
Correct.
chapter read by one narrator.
Okay.
So, like the
So, if,
question from Tal that I remember now. See, this is good. I remember. Tal said that sounds
okay.
expensive. Tal said
Hmm.
fully immersive audio sounds expensive. And my statement before I handed directly to Tanya, because she can speak much more intelligently about this, is that yes, but not necessarily as expensive as you would think. So, Tanya, talk
Right,
about the
that is
differences.
correct. Okay, so the differences, first and foremost, is how many words do you have in your book? That is what we start with. And then we divide that by the number of words that is feasibly able to be recorded in a certain amount of time. At that point, we know how many hours your book is in recording, and that is your finished per finished hour rate on that. I know there's going to be a ton of math in here at this point. And with everybody that we talk to, we go through a budget, a guesstimate budget, and we say, this is where we're going to start out with. These are the rates of the narrators that you want. And I've had several authors that they've said, no, I have to have this narrator. And that narrator was a little more expensive than everybody else, but they said they had to have that one. So we put that one in. That narrator was $300 per finished hour. So that was a little bit more. We had to budget that in. Now, when you get to the engineering part, it is a little more expensive if you do the surround sound total immersion narration with the sound effects, because they are putting in at least 500 sound effects per
Ooh,
chapter.
wow.
And that is a lot of bits and a lot of parts in there. You've got people's voices in there. You're balancing them out so you don't lose those voices anywhere in that sound. So, yes, you are paying a little bit more for the engineering, but it is worth it because you will get a masterpiece.
Mm.
The one person's book, if she just did straight narration with one person with regular engineering, was going to be just shy of $4,000. And with the full cast that we did, I keep hitting my mic. I am so
That's
sorry,
what that
people.
It's
is.
all of us, okay? All of us.
I talk very expressively with my hands. Where was I? I'm sorry. I got sidetracked by
So
my mic.
standard production for a specific length of book would have cost around $4,000. You were
Yeah.
going to tell us what the fully immersive version.
Okay.
would.
Actually, it was for the full cast, not the fully immersive.
Okay, go ahead.
For the full cast, it was 5, so it was just a bit more, and that is because of all the engineering of all the voices. We had one book that had 43 different characters throughout the whole book.
Wow.
So people think it's just, oh, we throw a voice in there and we slide it in. No, there's a lot that goes into this.
Oh, yeah. So basically, what you're saying, or what I'm hearing, is because I made $12,000 last year, is I should become a narrator and someday dream that maybe I could afford to have an audiobook.
All right. So
No.
here's the thing. What Tanya didn't tell you is how long that book was, because that's really the thing that tells you what the per finished hour rate is. So, like, as an example, that much money, then the percentage increase to go from solo narration to full cast is just an example. So, like, if you're saying effectively it's a 25% increase to go from solo to full cast, that's really kind of, I think, more where she was going with that than specific dollars.
Right.
It's always about how long your book is. And
Right.
your book, your first book, is on the shorter side for as far as novels go. So, like, I don't think it matters what level you're talking about. That book would not be a $4,000 audiobook. It still wouldn't be like super cheap, but it would not be that. So I want to be clear for everyone who's listening. It's all about the length of the book.
Right. So how many words do you have in your book?
First one's about 65,000.
Oh, okay. Well, she was double that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
if that
still too much,
makes you feel a
but
little
okay.
better.
No.
well, I mean,
I pay all my medical bills on a payment plan. But it's nice to dream that someday I could do this.
but this
And that's one thing that,
Sorry, I was just going to say
People-
this is good information for everyone else too, though, because
yeah,
there's a
yeah.
lot of authors who are considering whether to do audiobooks, but there's also different ways to fund them, because there are plenty of authors that are not paying out of pocket. They're doing things like Kickstarters, and they're using funding platforms to pay for the production of their books. And sorry, Tanya, go ahead. I cut you off.
No, that's fine. And there are people who we have allowed a 3 or 4 pay system.
The what?
Payment plans.
Oh,
Payment
yeah.
plans.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
So,
having an audiobook produced by a professional production company is not going to be within everyone's budget. But it's good to know what your options are.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is all really interesting, and it is answering. I only have one question that hasn't been answered yet. Were there more in the chat?
I haven't seen any, though I do see a lot of people with some really chunky books talking about their word counts, though. So AJ Frazier's in there with a 211,000 word book, and
Wow.
bless your soul for that, because ouch.
Hey, everybody wants to kill bugs in their house, and it's nice to be able to have a thing you can do that with.
Yeah, and let's also be super clear. There are other options for audiobook production. There are some platforms, not just ACX, but ACX is the most common one that offers a royalty share option, meaning an author doesn't pay out of pocket, but for 7 years, I believe the term is, 50% of royalties from the audiobook go to the narrator. So it's, basically it's a gamble for the narrator, but for the author, it can be a very good deal, provided that the narrator produces a book that's good quality. So it doesn't have to be a Kickstarter. You can also find platforms that do royalty share options, or I mean, even some private narrators will, for authors that they trust and believe in, do a royalty share book. So there's a lot of different opportunities for authors to get an audiobook out there.
and I know that this sounds like a lot of money is coming my direction, but I just want to let you know that last year I made 7,000. That was it.
I was going to say, it sounds like it's a lot of people, though. Like it's
a
all
lot
the
of
different people you got to pay for the editing, the
Yeah.
recording, the sound effects, the music. It's all, it doesn't really sound like you're making a ton on it. It's so
I'm
many
not.
people are involved. It's just an expensive production.
It's a labor of love
Yeah.
for me to
Oh,
be
yeah.
able to do this for other people.
Oh, yeah.
And even, like I said, even if they don't use the full cast and they just use one narrator and have that book produced that way, I'm happy to help them produce it that way.
That's awesome.
Yeah, one day we will give up this life of crime with all this
will.
money that we make.
Yeah.
Yes.
One
Rub
of
our
my-
pennies together.
One of my husband's colleagues does narration audio. I don't know if he does audiobooks, but he does a bunch of narration and stuff. He's got a really nice voice, and he's on TikTok as well, and does a bunch of videos like from his very professional sound booth. And he's got a you just want to listen to his voice. It's very soothing. It's very nice. So I'm like, yeah, I could see you making your entire living off of the sound of your voice. It's very sonorous.
There are a lot of people who, like, if you're on TikTok, which obviously you are, because here we are, there are a lot. You would think that everybody and their sibling was doing voiceover and audiobook narration now. And there are a lot of people who have tried to get into it and then they get out of it. But there are, like, it is a way to at least, as far as a narrator goes, you could at least make some supplemental income from doing that work. So it's not a bad way to go if it's something that you have enough talent and interest in doing to do it right.
I might.
We'll talk.
And you can do it on your schedule.
Yeah. I already get enough customers telling me I have a really nice phone voice, so it's got to be similar. I mean, they're all guys, but
I wasn't gonna say it.
let's not say anything else about that.
You know who listens to audiobooks, Lori? Also guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because reading is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I do have one more question.
We got 8 minutes left.
I think there's a very simple answer for it, and I think I know what the answer is. But when you're reading dialogue, and you're like, he said this, She replied, he asked, do you leave all those words in? Do some of them get cut out? So you're being true to the book, right?
You are being true to the book, but you
Okay.
can, if you want, cut those out. There's abridged and unabridged.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you would have to call
So that's
it
what
an
it is.
abridged version, though. I was like, but Tanya, you can't do. No, you're right. You can do that if you call it an abridged audiobook.
Okay.
Yes.
But like, if you are contracted to produce an audiobook, it is for producing it as written, not
Okay.
not editorialized. Like, a narrator's job is not to correct that grammar or spelling mistake that you made on page 52.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
This is this is a pet peeve of mine, and I'm just going to call it out right now. I had one come up to me and say that she was not going to correct what she had recorded, simply because she felt that she had said it the correct way, not the way the author had written it.
Oh, no.
And we promptly re-auditioned for that part and re-recorded it.
Yeah. So something as authors, because we three are also authors. Something you have to consider. This is why. One of the many reasons why you don't need a dialogue tag everywhere. Dialogue tags are for indicating who is speaking. If it is clear from the way that the dialogue is written or by using context, who is speaking, you don't need the dialogue tags. I use a specific example because John Scalzi, one of my favorite contemporary authors, wrote a book called Red Shirts. And Red Shirts was, I think, the last book that he wrote before he started really considering audio when it came to how he wrote. Because when you listen to the audiobook of Red Shirts, it's he said, she said, he said, he said, he said. And there are people who will tell you that he said disappears when you're reading. It does not disappear when you're listening. I hear every single one of them. So
I agree.
As an author, I write my books to minimize dialogue tags because I want the ability to narrate the books to flow as well as reading the book does.
Yeah, that's definitely something I thought of even writing the first book. And because the first book does have a lot more just one-on-one, because there's a lot of Alice is learning about this, Jay is teaching her about it. In the second book, there's so many scenes where it's 3 or 4 people going on this quest/adventure that I do have to clarify which person's speaking, but I try to keep it more to not so much he said as dialogue, Jeremy does a thing. So it's, action is in there, but it's indicating that Jeremy was the one who said the thing, but it's less like Jeremy said it and more like Jeremy pouted or, Jeremy leaned against a wall in frustration.
Yeah. And another thing to think of when you're turning in a book for an audiobook is that you need to have all of the things that you pronounce differently in your book in a list, and you have to have how it is properly pronounced, because somebody might name somebody Sherry, but it's spelled Cherie. And you would have to explain how that is properly pronounced, if not giving an actual vocal file on how you want it pronounced. So it makes it so much cleaner and easier for the narrators. They don't have to keep doing retakes. It saves time, it saves money, it saves patience. It saves a lot of bills at the certain store downtown where you forget your woes. But anything that you have that's needing to be explained to the narrator, please by all means make a little book Bible, put it in there. If you want to explain something about your character, why they need to be a certain way, put that in your little book Bible. Hand that off to the narrators.
That makes sense.
If I could add one last thought, both as an author and a narrator, if you are auditioning narrators, never feel like you can't ask them to take another take with a note, because
Correct.
I've had narrators that have auditioned for things for me that I did not like off the bat, and I said, if they did it this other way, I might like this better. And often people will want a second chance at um, at earning the part, and so never feel like you can't say, "Hey, can I get Ben to do this again? Except I want him to be more North End than South End,"
Mm-hmm.
and and the narrator can always say, "Nope, I'm good. I did my audition and now I'm done. That's fine." But
Mm-hmm.
never feel like you can't ask for what you want, because you're going to be paying for, either paying in dollars or royalties or whatever. You're going to be paying
Mm-hmm.
for the production. So get what you want.
Yeah, that's
Right.
that's
And
my favorite part of Make Some Noise. They say, say this line. Now you say it with more conviction.
mhm.
Yeah.
And that's part of my job too, is to go to those narrators and go, okay, this is where we're having the problem. Can you do this? Can we see it this way? Can we hear it with this, this, and this added to it? So that way you don't have to deal with that all the time, and I can get the best take out of them and bring it to you.
Mm-hmm. It's my
So
favorite show on Dropout.
on that note,
On that note.
on that note, we are out of time. So let's just go around the room. I want folks to say where can everyone who attended this, where can they find you? What have you got going on? Going to start with our special guest, Tanya. Where can people find you and Total Immersion Narration?
You can find me on pretty much any platform. My email is on my little link down there. Um, if you can't catch me on that, most of the people have my phone number, or they see me on a daily basis on Discord. So just feel free to reach out wherever you can find me. Um, and I have several different companies that I'm running right now. It's not just the one. So I'm kind of running around like a chicken with my head cut off, anyhow. But I enjoy talking to people, so I will stop and figure out what you need. Alrighty, there.
No, it's perfect. Thank you, Tanya. Lori, where can people find you?
There's a link in my page. I don't know if you're allowed to say it. My name is under me. Is that visible right now?
Yeah, that is.
So you can go to, I think it's author.lorinielsen.com, and that has like all the stuff and all the links and everything for all of my various side projects, because I'm just like 5 side projects in a trench coat at this point. And you can find my book and my webcomic and my t-shirts and the bracelets I sell on Etsy and just everything. Everything's there.
Awesome.
We love you, Lori.
Thank you, Lori. And I am your other host, Ben Schenkman, urban fantasy author and audiobook narrator. And the only thing I'll ask people to do is to go to Kickstarter and search for Arcane Awakenings, which is the urban fantasy anthology that I and Tal Good, both from Caffeinated Terrier Press, are a part of. And it is up for pre-launch. So we want everyone to hit that notify button to be notified when the campaign goes live. It costs you nothing to sign up to be notified, and it does actually help us with the algorithm. So please go check out Arcane Awakenings.
Can I point out
Yeah.
the other anthology that's coming up?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have another anthology that is coming up soon. It will be released in the summertime, and everybody has about 10K, but it's all centered around the thoughts that people have in their heads on a daily basis that nobody ever hears. And some of us are donating to special groups, and they all revolve around people who need help with their thoughts. So it's a good anthology to follow up on, and keep track of it with me or with Ben. I'm sure he'll put it out there as well. So there's that
Very
one.
cool.
I definitely will.
Very cool.
So That being said, thank you all for coming to today's Caffeinated Terrier Talk, and everyone have a fantastic rest of your night. Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.